Deep in the green heart of West Africa lies a small, forgotten village called Okoroma, a place untouched by time and cloaked in silence. The people there live simple lives, farming, fishing, and keeping to themselves. But Okoroma carries a secret so strange, so unsettling, that even the bravest refuse to stay there past midday. Because in Okoroma, when the sun reaches its highest point, the shadows begin to walk. No one knows exactly when it began. Some say it was a punishment from the gods, others say it was the earth itself taking revenge. But every villager agrees. The curse started the day the miners dug where they shouldn't have. Many years ago, a group of men discovered gold hidden deep beneath the black earth. While digging, they found a hidden cavern filled with carvings of men kneeling before what looked like their own shadows. In the center of the cave was a flat stone slab with a strange figure etched into it. The village chief begged them to leave it alone. He said the place was sacred, that it was a resting ground for those who walk when the sun sleeps. But greed blinded them. They broke the stone, scattering its pieces across the date, and kept digging for gold. That night, the wind screamed through the trees like a living thing. Fires burned blue, dogs refused to bark, and the air smelled like iron and smoke. The next morning, people began to whisper. A young farmer named Etched was the first to notice something wrong. He was walking home from the fields at noon when he saw something impossible. His shadow lagged behind him. When he stopped, it kept moving. It turned its head before he did, then broke away from his feet and walked down the road. Etched screamed until his voice cracked, and when people found him, he was trembling, eyes wide open but empty. By the next day, his shadow never came back. Then, the same thing began happening to others. Villagers claimed to see dark figures gliding across the ground when the sun was at its peak, human-shaped, but belonging to no one. They moved slowly, like smoke with purpose. Some said they were the spirits of those buried beneath the hills. Others swore they were the shadows of the miners who disturbed the ancient slab. Now, every day, the village bell rings at exactly 11:55 a.m. That is the warning. As soon as the sound echoes through Okoroma, the streets empty, doors slam shut, windows close, and every fire is lit. The people sit quietly, not daring to speak or look outside. Then, when the clock strikes 12, the shadows begin their walk. They drift across the ground, through walls and trees, stretching long and thin even under the blazing sun. No one dares to watch for long. Those who do sometimes lose more than their courage. Years later, outsiders came, researchers and documentary filmmakers who had heard the legend and wanted to capture it on camera. The villagers begged them not to stay out at noon. They laughed and called it superstition. They set up their equipment under the burning sun and waited. At first, nothing happened. Then, one by one, their cameras began to flicker. The air grew cold. And suddenly, the shadows beneath their feet began to move independently. One of the men shouted, "It's moving! Look!" Their shadows were no longer attached to them. They turned, reached out, and began to walk away. The recording captured a hand made of darkness gripping one man's shoulder before the camera fell to the ground. The image shook, and the video cut to black. None of the men were ever seen again. Only their cameras were found, covered in dust, their batteries drained. Since then, no one enters Okoroma without permission. The government tried sending survey teams into the area, but they too vanished without a trace. Even the birds seemed to avoid the skies above the village. Every year, a few thrill-seekers and explorers try to prove the story wrong. Some return pale and trembling, swearing they heard whispers in their own voices. Others never come back at all. Today, the people of Okoroma live by one rule. When the noon bell rings, hide your shadow, because they believe the curse still walks with them. They say the shadows are hungry, searching for anyone foolish enough to stand in the light when they come out. Once your shadow leaves you, it never returns. Travelers passing near the area say the forest feels heavier there. The air hums with something unseen. And if you ever walk that way and notice the world goes silent, no birds, no wind, no sound at all, you'd better move quickly, because when the sun burns brightest and you see a shadow that doesn't belong to you, it's already too late.